COVID has finally broken us. Well, I say finally, it's broken us again. We are separated on our own, can't hold each other. Sad days.
We can't hold each other's hands under the table as we film.
My parents have the big Rona. We do. We actually rub ankles.
Rub ankles, rub hands, rub other things.
Ooh.
And how are your parents? Are they okay?
They're good. Mum was definitely a lot worse than my dad, but she's fine. Like she's still functioning, which is
so you don't have it though. You don't have it?
As of right now, I don't. But who knows? We'll see how it goes over the next couple of days.
Starting to feel a bit croaky, or you okay?
I don't know. Sometimes I do, but then I feel like it's just me being like, I must have it because my parents have it, right?
Yeah, that's the worst part of it. So you have to, because you have someone in your house, does that mean you have to isolate for 7 days? Is that correct?
No, you don't have to. It's
I
only
don't have to isolate anymore.
No, only if you're an intimate partner.
Oh, okay. See, it's the thing. Everything changes so much that I can't even keep up with it anymore.
Yeah.
Like I literally can't keep up with it anymore.
I only know because I was like, oh fuck, I'm a close contact now. I gotta have a look.
So is Nicole coming over, or are you going to hers, or you're not seeing each other?
No, we could, but because her parents are immune and compromised, we're just not seeing each other for the next week.
That's exactly the same with my partner, someone in her family. So that's the thing. Like, we haven't had anything like that in our house yet, but I know the second it happens, it'll be like the exact same as you.
Yeah,
like that would just be the case. So I said to her today, I want to get COVID with you, so we can just we can see each other and like chill out, because I don't want to be like
amongst other things.
Yeah, it just weird times, man. But hey, at least we're shaking it up a little bit with a COVID episode. I'm gonna live myself out a little bit.
Well, yeah, we haven't done a Zoom for a while.
Yeah, I don't think since I think we did one of the last classic episodes for Zoom, if I'm not mistaken.
I think Earthshock, and it was pretty dreadful because your sound of your AirPods was rough. But
my mum put my AirPods through the dryer. Not the dryer.
Did your mum put the AirPods through the washing machine, or did you leave your AirPods in your pants and then put them into the wash?
I had taken them to work, and I kept them in my shorts because like I had my AirPods on at work, not all the time, but sometimes just so I could like listen to the podcast and stuff. But I swear on my life, my mum literally made such a big scene like 2 weeks prior, saying, "I always check through people's pockets. I don't like doing it." She said, "I don't like doing it, but I always check through people's pockets to make sure I'm not watching anything." I shit you not, literally like a week and a half later, she washes my AirPods. They're fine. Like, when I put them in the first time, they sounded terrible. I'm like, that's it, they're fucked. And I literally bought them a couple months prior. I bought the latest AirPods, and then they're water resistant, but not like this. So I left them out in the sun, and now they sound fine. But then I answered a phone call at work, and they couldn't hear me. And I'm like, is it just a connection? And then like people kept calling me like, I can't hear you. You sound really muffled. So I was like, fuck. So clearly the microphone didn't survive the journey. So luckily my girlfriend's got AirPods, so I was like, I didn't want to repeat what happened last time. I knew it'd probably be a pain in the ass for you, editing wise. So I try and make your life easier as much as I joke about it.
As much as you joke about destroying
I don't have to make your life a living hell all the time.
Speaking of technology, robots. Was that how was that a segue? Was that a shit segue?
Nah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, we'll accept it.
Segues go. Yeah, I'll take it.
Cool. All right. Robot of Sherwood. I hate that it's not Robots of Sherwood. It's a singular robot in the title, which annoys me.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. That's the episode we're talking about today. That's season 8, episode 3. Baby, girl, Connor. We are the 50% Dog Poo podcast. We're going to talk about
50% podcast.
I love it.
Yeah, boy. So Robot of Sherwood is the 3rd episode of the 8th series of the British science fiction television program Doctor Who, written by Mark Gatiss and directed by Paul Murphy. In the episode, the time traveler, the Doctor, and his companion, Clara Oswald, arrive in Sherwood Forest in 1190, where they encounter legendary hero Robin Hood, as well as the gold-plundering Sheriff of Nottingham, played by my boy Ben Miller. Ben Miller's in the house.
Let's go.
Yeah, this is an episode. So yeah, we've got Mark Gatiss. We all know Mark is a writer. He's written every episode of Doctor Who that's not written by Stephen Moffat and Russell T Davies, pretty much.
Yeah.
We don't really know Paul Murphy as a director, and we might not, because I can't seem to find much on him, to be honest. I'll get back to you on that one.
Mark does Eccleston's third episode. He doesn't do David's, but he does Matt's and he does Pete's. Isn't that interesting?
Sure. Interesting facts with Connor. That one.
You don't think that's interesting?
A little bit, I guess. Maybe. I don't know.
It's just like, I don't know. Don't you think that's kind of like cool though, that he's been doing the third episodes for like a while now?
Yeah, maybe it's, especially with Moffat, maybe it's like he really trusts him as a writer. So
yeah,
like,
I think so.
The first two are written by Moff, and so the third one he'd give to to Gatiss.
Well, I literally saw on Instagram today they're like reunited. I think they're working on something at the moment.
Mate, you
can tell they really just like love working with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I like to see it. It's fun.
Yeah.
I miss Mark as much as his scripts are pretty shit.
Oh, hi, Mark. So
hi, Mark.
Paul Murphy, the director of this episode, directed 2 episodes of Doctor Who, Robot of Sherwood and The Caretaker, which is interesting because they're very similar in style, like color-wise, the sense of humor, the vibe of the episodes. They're very similar episodes from memory. So interesting.
Right. Yeah, this was an interesting one to go into because I said in the last episode it was this one and In the Forest of the Shite that which I thought was just going to bog the series down a little bit.
Yeah.
And this is an episode I think is well described in this kind of analogy where it's like I would never watch this episode if I was like not doing the show and I randomly wanted to watch an episode. I'd never pick this one. But I don't mind it rewatching the series. Like if I'm rewatching the series, I don't mind it coming up, but I would never pick it as like an episode to watch if I feel like watching Doctor Who. That's just me. But
no, I can appreciate and respect that. And to be honest, I probably feel the same way. If I'm honest, I think it's kind of a bit run of the mill. I think for me, the thing that I struggled the most with this episode, and I enjoy Pete in this episode. I think he's a lot of fun, but it's quite jarring coming from the first 2 episodes, I think, because the first 2, tonally, the episodes are so much more grim, and obviously they wanted to shake that up and put in a fun one. But it felt
colorful
like
and light and stuff. Yeah,
it felt like Pete was a little too different in his characterization of the Doctor. It still felt like the same guy, but it was just vastly different moods. You know, this kind of felt like Series 9 Pete or something. I don't know.
It's interesting you say that because like I always think like how writers coming into Doctor Who, especially writing for doctors and companions, that like, you know, this is the first season with Capaldi, like they hadn't seen him on like an episode before. Like Moffat would have just been like, this is what his doctor's like. Maybe he'd read a couple of pages of like some scripts, but like, you know, you don't know per se like really what his doctor's going for.
But that's what like a showrunner and a script editor are for, to go in and make sure all the characters kind of sound the same, you know?
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Because it's weird because like, you know, the next episode is really dark. And then we got Time Heist, which is dark in places. And, you know, it's a bit grim, and Caretaker is like, yeah, the doctor comes across very blunt in it, and then they got stuff like Kill the Moon and Flatline. Like, you're right, he is like Capaldi's character is very, the doctor, Capaldi's doctor is very like cutthroat. And I get what you mean, like he's having fun. He's like, you know, he's firing arrows. He's having fun at the fair.
Yeah,
he's enjoying himself. He
blows up wood with his Sonic somehow.
Yeah, you know, we always had that thing about the Sonic being like it can suddenly do this. Yeah, and it just blows up a target.
Good
which
stuff.
Looks fun, and they clearly obviously just blew it up, and that's fun. I like that, but it's like, okay, when could the doctor just point and make a target explode? And it's silly how they like there's like 6 or 7 shots done and everyone keeps getting bullseyes. Yeah, it's just it's silly. Like no matter how good you are, I'm sure even the best archer in the world probably couldn't get 7 bullseyes in a row. And it's 3 different people as well.
Yeah.
So suddenly the Doctor's a great archer all of a sudden.
Well, perhaps he once was in his second incarnation, but we'll talk about that down the line and behind the scenes.
You never forget.
Mummy.
Like riding a bike,
So I quite like the way this episode starts. We have Clara, she's talking about how
like a punt.
She wants to go one hero that she's never met or something. I don't know. I really butchered that, but you know what I'm saying. Like I like
someone you've always wanted to meet.
Yeah, and I like that. You'd use a time traveler to do a time machine to do that, right? That makes sense. Go meet a celebrity that you haven't had the chance to meet because they're dead, right? And I think the sequence that followed of the Doctor and Robin and Clara at that riverside was beautifully shot and really funny. It was my favorite scene in the episode. I genuinely was like, oh, I love this. I'm going to love watching this episode. I'm having so much fun. Unfortunately for me, that was the highlight of the episode, and I only kind of down from there. But I thought that first scene was so funny. Robin Hood being like, Robin Hood laughs in the face of all. Ha ha ha! And do people ever punch you in the face after you do that?
Not yet. Yeah.
I thought that was really funny.
Even the Doc's like, he had a massive. And then Clara's like, and he's like, ego.
Yeah. And even like the sword fight with the spoon was actually fun as well. There's the classic, the last finger that the Doctor pulls down is the middle finger. So there's all those memes of the Doctor.
That's got to be, come on, that's got to be something.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, the sword fight was pretty fun. Yeah.
You're right. That opening is really great. And I do like the idea of, we've never really seen the Doctor. The thing I love most about Capaldi's TARDIS, and it's a shame because it doesn't really get used very well, I think, in 9 and 10. But what I like about season 8 and the Doctor's TARDIS is that he actually does use like the chalkboard. He's reading books. And I love that. Even in like Deep Breath, he's sat in the chair in his TARDIS. Like, he's just thinking. Like, I love that kind of stuff. And to open up on the Doctor just like doing some equations on a chalkboard, and he's like, look, I got nowhere to take you. Like, where do you want to go? And I think that's really fun. And even in like, I haven't watched this yet, rewatched it, but I know he's like in the TARDIS, just like writing the stuff on chalkboard and like reading books. I love that about his TARDIS. It's why Capaldi's TARDIS is my favorite. I know it's like Smith's, but it's a bit different light and there's like bookshelves in the back. But that opening is really fun. But I think my biggest problem with this episode is I've never liked Robin Hood that much. And I've never loved his character. And I just had no interest in really seeing him in an episode. So did you like Robin Hood?
I've never cared for him, but I don't dislike him. I think he's
pretty similar.
I think he's fun. I think he's a fun presence in this episode. Another scene that I quite liked was when they first go back to meet his merry men. There's some good quotes in there that I can't think of right now, but they were that I was like cracking up. I thought was quite funny.
Yeah, the Doctor's like pulling off slippers and taking blood injections and pulling out hair and stuff and being like, you're real, you'd be dead in like 6 months. And they are real. That stuff is fun. I just think, and I do recall, I don't know who he is, but the guy who played Robin Hood, when he got cast to play him, when the actor got cast to play Robin Hood, I know a lot of like fans were really excited. I remember that. I think he's quite. I don't know him. I don't know what he's in, but I know quite a few fans are very excited to see him in Doctor Who. I think that's what people were more excited to see, is that he was going to be in an episode. But being in Australia at the time for a while, I hadn't really like seen him in anything. But he does really good. To be fair, he's really great as Robin Hood. I think he has a really good presence in the episode. He's a really good counterpart to Clara and the Doctor.
I agree.
It is a bit cliche that the companion always flirts with Clara, but I'll let it slide.
I think for me, I was this guy is Tom Riley is Robin Hood. Everyone was excited for Tom Riley. I was excited for Ben Miller.
Ben Miller.
That was my hype for this episode. I don't think I've ever really spoken about it that much on here before, but as a kid, I was a massive Primeval fan, and he's such a good presence in that show. It was so cool to see him in.
It was awesome
in this show. And he's pretty good in it. He's maybe a little underutilized and things, but I almost feel like the tone of episode was kind of perfect for him because it's kind of silly and he's really good at that sarcastic stuff and he brings that to his
let's
character.
go here and do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It felt like we didn't fully quite reach his potential in the episode.
I agree. It's hard to see him in an episode like this where I feel like he is a bit wasted. But yeah, I love Ben Miller too. And I remember when he got announced, I did a classic Nerd Life Reviews quick news video, which is like not even a minute long. Yeah, not even a minute long. And I remember I filmed it in my mum's car while she was in the shops. I kept doing this for like season 8. I did that. The Cybermen will return in the season 8 final video. I filmed that in the Coles shopping center. I remember your mum found out that we made YouTube videos for it because I chucked it up on Facebook saying I just did this video. And she clicked it and watched it and then went on the channel and saw that you were on there as well. Because she was like, I just saw Connor do a video in the shopping center. Because like whenever news dropped, I was like, I need to get on it straight away.
Wherever I am,
people to watch your videos wherever I am. But yeah, I was so excited to see him come into it and to play a villain. I thought it was a great idea. But yeah, as far as cliche villains go, it's pretty up there.
Yeah, it is.
It is the whole thing. Kind of go there a little bit. I don't know.
He just needs like gold or something. Is that the plot of the episode? Man needs gold.
Yeah, they're like, he doesn't take silver or diamonds. He only takes gold. To, I don't know. I don't fucking care. Like it was hard to. I think if this was an episode in season 9, I'd be a lot harsher with it. But since I've been enjoying the whole Clara and Peter dynamic so much, it was more enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
Because I wanted more of it, you know. Because you sat last week, you were like, I might, after we finished filming, you're like, I might watch Robot of Sherwood Also. I'm just loving that dynamic. That's kind of how I felt.
Did.
So I watched it the night after, and I wasn't dreading watching it, even though I knew it wasn't great. But I really just enjoy that dynamic at the moment. Enjoy the fresh.
I'm really enjoying Series 8, man. I might go on and watch Listen after we record this. Like I'm having a lot of fun. I hope it keeps up like this.
I'm really keen. I think I'm really gonna like it because since this episode's just a little bit shit, and then the Forest of the Shy. Apart from that, I can't really think of an episode that really like didn't really hit the mark for me. So, and even this rewatching it. What for you?
I just made a weird. I went to go, but I went like, like it was a very weird noise.
That's the COVID hit in your throat. It's coming to attack you. I think even this episode, which I didn't love, I could still be like, hey, I can enjoy it for what it is, and I think this might be up there with one of my favorite seasons which is weird because I never thought twice about it when it first aired. I was always like, that was a bit anticlimactic. Like, I'm not really digging this season, but I think it's one that ages better when like maybe the viewer gets older.
I think it's one where we were really in the angsty teen phase that like we always thought that our opinions were better than whatever they could produce for us and shit, you know?
Yeah, like, I don't get this shit. Yeah, I get your thing.
Yeah.
It was a weird time, especially during like, I mean, part of the fun of watching Doctor Who is like your mates watch it. I remember when season 9 was airing, like it was just you and me. Like everyone else had dropped off.
Yeah.
And that was hard. Like, so you're right though. This is like kind of like our angsty teen, older than we were when we watched that. But you know, I think this episode is fun, but I just feel like, you know, Mark's got like a running thing which is weird because these season 7 scripts are quite original and fresh, but it's just like a Robin Hood thing, and Robin Hood's pretty like, you know, already, you know, you already know what he's going to do, and then it's like, of course, there's some evil king who's ruling the land, and it ends with a sword fight, and it's like pretty predictable, but with some nice location work, you know, here and there.
Yeah, the location work was really lovely. I will say the deleted scene, which we'll talk about in behind the scenes, if that had been in the episode, I feel like it might have added a bit more stakes because for those who don't know, there is a deleted scene. We'll talk about exactly what that is, but it's a big part in the climax of the episode. It was taken down for understandable reasons, but it's available online. And it just feels like it has a bit more stakes. Like I feel like we didn't really get that in the actual episode. But yeah.
Of course, and I want to hear your thoughts on this because I felt like, a fun part of the episode was like having Robin Hood and the Doctor like constantly bantering and trying to one up each other. But I thought it got quite old quite quick, and they kept running with it like the whole episode. You got the squish.
I got the squish.
What's it facing? What's Peter facing?
Okay, so Pete the squish, he's both.
Oh, is it middle? Okay.
It's middle ground today.
Yeah, okay.
This is how we dictate whether the episode is good or bad, because we have this little
middle, Pete.
We have this little smiley / sad face Octo Moody. You invert it for the emotions. This is for our audio listeners. So like it's a fun time of an episode, but it's not great. So
I agree.
Middle ground.
There's far worse.
There is definitely a lot worse,
The banter for me though, just like it got a bit too old quick.
I really agree. Like watching the sequence in the dungeon.
In the dungeon,
was kind of fun, and I feel like it would have been fun if we hadn't had all this kind of stuff in the lead up to it as well.
Yeah, it got old quick.
It was just so much banter. It
was. And I test against banter, and he starts bantering.
Yeah. It was funny when the what was it? The key falls down and you just hear it go.
We never tell Clara about this.
Yeah, that was funny.
It just reminded me so much. Sorry. So that's that Zoom lag view.
Hype.
It just reminded me of we'd already seen Day of the Doctor recently, and it just reminded me of like the Doctor's being locked in there. And,
I agree.
And Clara being the smart one. And it's like there's no guard. And it's like, okay, Clara's smart in dungeons and the Doctor in someone else. It's not another Doctor, but it's someone who's supposed to be really smart. Is just a fucking idiot as well. And it's of course.
It was funny in this though when I was like,
that was
who's
funny.
The leader? And they both like start being all like arrogant and stuff. And so he takes Clara.
That's what I mean. The stuff that they do is funny and it's good, but I just think that it gets taken so far. There's even a part in the episode which I think it's kind of funny, and like again, it's just like way too many jokes into it. But like they finally escape, and they're walking out, and they got like the shackles on with a massive stone, and it's like the Doctor's like, first we have to find a locksmith, and he's like, is it to get rid of the shackles? And the Doctor's like, no, he says something like, no, it's for planting or something. It calls for the shackles. I butchered that. The delivery's a lot funnier in the episode. And then literally in the next scene, you just see the Doctor and Robin Hood walking into like a area, and then they're just like rubbing their wrists. I'm like, where the fuck in the castle did they find a locksmith who was? I'm sure there is a locksmith or something like that in the castle, but they're prisoners. Why the fuck did a locksmith get rid of that? It's just that just took me out of the episode. It's so dumb.
Connor, you can't question it.
Why not? I'm reviewing this shit. I'm ready to tell Mark that, I'm telling him that like if I was writing a script and I had something like that, I would just wouldn't do it. I was thinking of a smarter way to do it. Like maybe it would be funny that like they shuffle in with their shackles on. That could have been a funny joke. And then like maybe they trip Ben Miller and grab the Sonic out of his pocket and then they like get themselves out. I don't know. Or maybe Clara grabs it and throws it to the dock, or Sonic's their chains off. Like, why have we got to? It made no sense.
Yeah.
I am judging a kids show, by the way, in my free time. But
I'm
just saying it didn't make fucking sense.
What did you think of the climax, the big sword fight between Ben Miller and Tom Riley?
It's fine, but even before the episode aired, they made a big deal about how there was a deleted scene. So every time I watch it, I'm like, okay, what was the deleted scene? I think I watched it a few years ago.
Yeah.
But then I rewatched it tonight. And you're right, it did feel like it felt like I was watching Legend of the Sea Devils, quite frankly. Because it was so choppy.
Yeah. Yeah. It seemed like quite a good scene as well. I think I feel like I definitely would have watched this back in the day. But this is the first time I remember watching it, to be honest, today. And
I think we
I
did
was surprised by it.
Yeah, I agree. I think like directing wise, like it's good. It's not great, but it's bearable and it's good for a Doctor Who.
It looks pretty in parts.
It does look pretty. It kind of knows how they just keep cutting back to like the Clara and the Doctor being like, oh, no, do like this. It's like, could you just like keep off them for a little bit? Like the sword fight is more interesting. But you know, it's a lackluster villain who's supposed to give a shit about, like, it's just dumb plot about something landing, like a shooting star landed, and it's so dumb. And you know what? It's too convoluted to even care about, and no one gives a fuck. But like, even like, although their design, it looks, I think the design of those like knights looks amazing.
I was about to bring this up.
They look so good, but they're like completely and utterly like underutilized.
Yeah, that whole sequence with the knights and all the slaves or whatever just wasn't really. I just wasn't feeling it. You know, I wasn't really that invested in that sort of plot line.
No, you're not. Like, you don't. It kind of sets up Robin Hood's misses, which I didn't actually pick up to. Like,
no,
at the
neither.
End, the TARDIS disappeared. I'm like, oh, so that's who that was.
Yeah, I 100% was like, I have no idea who this chick is. And then at the end, it was like, oh, here you go. And I was like, were we supposed to know that by now, or is this the reveal? I was
think
confused.
The only thing that gives it away is, I think, because I was like, why does the Doctor kind of notice her? I was like, oh, that's nothing. I didn't think anything of it until the end, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I love how she's just hiding behind the TARDIS until it materializes, and she's like K9 in School Reunion, like, I'm here. Here's your gift. Yeah, but those nights, I remember actually seeing it in person at the experience, and they look great. But
did you stroke it like you did Peter?
I didn't stroke it. No, I don't think I stroked anything.
You stroked Peter,
except Peter's thing. Yeah, except Peter's red velvet coat. I don't think
that's right.
Well, there are people walking around quite a lot, and if you touch things, you get told off. But but no one was around in that particular area. They had the Face the Raven set up, the area set up for the episode, so there was no one really around that area.
Yeah. I liked. Sorry, we're jumping back a bit. I just forgot the introductory scene of Robin Hood. I like how he shot the TARDIS. I thought that was fun. A fun little thing. Yeah, and he's hiding behind a bush.
And the whole just like the TARDIS fixing itself. That was fun.
That was fun.
It is. That opening is really fun, and it just was like everyone's just having a good time, and they're cheering up the scenery, and it's really good. The whole thing of the episode is like the Doctor is like, in the end, he's like, I don't even know if I believe you exist, and they kind of touch on maybe the robots creating Robin Hood and the Merry Men. But at the end, Ben Miller's like, they got nothing to do with this. So I guess it's like the whole fairy tales existing. And there is a beautiful line where there's also like, since when you start believing in fairy tales? And she's like, when do you think? It's a really nice line. But I guess we're meant to believe that like Robin Hood did exist, in fact, and like and the Merry Men all existed when they didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
don't know what they were trying to say.
What did you think of the ending of the episode with the ship flying off and they have to shoot the golden arrow and they're all holding it, and it's a great wholesome moment.
Yeah, what a great wholesome moment. I cared so much about everything that was happening.
Yeah, I really didn't know. Yeah.
The only thing I really liked about the ending was how, and it's probably the only moment where I'm like, yeah, this is kind of like Pete, you know, where like basically Clara like just dished out a load of like personal stuff about the Doctor to Robin Hood behind his back, and he's like, "You shouldn't have told you that." I really believe that line. I really like that, and I really like how he was like, you know, my personal information isn't yours. But that's the kind of only scene that, like, when he confronted Robin at the end for being like, "I know that you're the Doctor from Gallifrey and stuff," and he was like, "She shouldn't have told you that." I like that. But finally, some conflict. But conflict is not just used for banter and shit jokes.
Yeah, and that's why this episode kind of falls flat, I think.
Yeah, it's too much.
So yeah, the ending didn't quite work for Connor.
Nah, I don't think so. I just think that Mark doesn't really hit the mark. No pun intended. He doesn't hit that bullseye. All right, he doesn't hit the mark.
He just doesn't quite get it. Get it. He doesn't quite get it. Get it.
No,
that was
none of his
a really
episodes.
Fast one.
Yeah, none of his episodes really just work for me. I don't know. I just can't. Yeah, I can't really get around it.
Yeah, he's an interesting writer.
Like Robin Hood, so
he definitely thinks he's a little bit funnier than he is sometimes. A lot of the time, he's still quite funny, but sometimes it's just like, Mark, you don't have to have a joke in every sentence of the bloody script, mate.
I know. I think that was the problem. I think that the problem was that it's way too. It's trying to be really serious in places, and it's trying to make you care. Yeah. It's trying to make you sympathize with all these villages that have been taken over for all the gold and all the slaves and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're just cutting back to constant slapstick shit jokes, which I'm just not really into personally.
Classic banter.
So never liked it when it aired. Still don't really like it now. I remember just being way more excited to watch Listen because there'd been a synopsis drop for it, and obviously the name. But at least the first 5 episode names, I believe, they might have leaked with the whole script thing. They got leaked as well, but I think I was just like, man, this is just what I want to hear. That's what I want to see. Sorry, I want to see, listen. I don't want to be watching this shit.
Don't give me this Mark shit.
Yeah, unfortunately.
That's a shame. But yeah, he is a good writer. It's just he just gets carried away. Is the problem?
I think he does, and I do also think that he gets brought back because he's been there since season 1. And
I'd love to see him back.
I'd love to see him back as well. But I just think that him and Steven obviously got along really well with Ryan, Sherlock, and dragged them together afterwards. Like I said, I think they're doing something now. So, I get why they keep bringing him back, but I'm also come on,
move along.
I don't know if he would have gotten brought back as many times as he did if he wasn't such powers with the head writers. That's all I'm saying. But
sure, yeah. Interesting stuff.
But that's kind of it, really.
Yeah, there's not a lot to say. Do you have any I don't know, any things in the Doctor Who universe that have happened this week? There's not been any news or anything, has there? I saw that Millennium FX, I think, who do the practical effects but left in series 12, are coming back for Russell's run.
I think.
Yeah.
Oh, was it season 12? Yeah, I think they only didn't do Flux or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're coming back. Yeah, apparently the guy who does that just randomly apparently he's just in some fan Facebook group.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, I'm coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like a great lineup. And I feel like we've been saying this for a while now, but I do think that we are getting closer and closer to a possible 14th Doctor, reveal, which is good because I feel like we need something to keep us going.
Because we know it's not going to be until September that we hear something new about the centenary, right? It's going to be dead silent until then.
I would think that is the case, yeah, because we don't really, from Chibnall Zero especially, they definitely changed up their marketing techniques. So even a title is not.
Yes. Just give us a title, please.
Are they trying to squeeze every little bit of news out of one episode to last them 6 months? I don't know.
Wouldn't it be crazy if they marketed it as just the centenary special and that's what they made the episode listing in Radio Times and stuff like that, and then the episode comes out and you only just get the title in the episode and it's awesome. The Rise of Omega or something like that? How crazy would that be?
Rani's return.
Yeah.
The Rani returns.
Rani and Clyde back in action.
Rani and Clyde returns. Yeah, that's something Chibnall would do. I wouldn't be against that. I mean, maybe that is why they're doing it. That could be fun to have like a reveal. But I was speaking with Dan the other day, and I'm really now into the idea that the regeneration is going to be like semi-open ended, because I don't know if you read, but I heard that Chibnall didn't even find out that Russell was going to be the head writer until like 2 days before even the public found out.
Yeah, I don't remember how much, if they'd finished the centenary by that point. I don't know. Maybe I can find out.
Maybe they hadn't, but the only thing is as well, like they've made it. Maybe they're lying. They could very much be lying, but
totally.
They said the TARDIS
I believe it because
in the generation.
I've heard it from a few different sources that that they only found that out a few days before. I think 36 hours is the thing.
I meant maybe they're lying about how they said the TARDIS, the regeneration isn't in the TARDIS.
Oh, okay,
because the only thing I can think about is that they kept that. I know I bring this up all the time, but they kept the setup for a while after Jodie had.
Yeah, I don't think that's a reason enough for me. I don't quite buy that one yet.
Well, they said it's not on the TARDIS, so I don't see why they would say that if it is. So
yeah, that's why I think
keen
to see this regeneration be something different though. Like
I think it's gonna be. I would be very surprised if it's not.
Yeah, okay. So it looks like they had wrapped the centenary before Russell was announced. So it looks to me like
I know it's crazy.
They wrapped the centenary on the 13th of October, from what I can see, and then Russell was announced. Oh wait, no, sorry, I just got the years the wrong way around. So the months the wrong way around. Right. September 25th is when Russell was announced to be back, and then October 13th is when they wrapped the centenary. So that being said, though, they would have had to have had a plan of how they were ending the episode, and then whether or not when Russell got announced, they were like, "Okay, let's quickly write the scene, or get Russell to write a scene for."
Maybe they could. Maybe they could, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they like do, a bit of an open-ended regeneration, which could lead into my theory that I think what they're going to do is, with the 60th, they're going to have all the Doctors in it, and then Jodie's scene could be leading into the new Doctor. Because everyone's like, how can they bring her back if she's just regenerated? A good way to do it is by maybe not even showing the regeneration itself, like cutting away, and then maybe having her last scene in the 60th, or her scene in the 60th be also her last scene. And that's her regenerating into whoever said new Doctor is, whoever he/she may be. No one knows.
Yeah, I feel like she will regenerate just because it's being hyped like that. And even though in the centenary we see like regeneration energy around her hands, even though we know that's not her regenerating, it's still kind of saying it's happening. I've heard people say it looks like she's opened the fog watch, which I can believe. I can buy that. That makes sense to me because it's that same regen energy stuff.
Yes. Yeah. It's hard to say, because I'd like to think the BBC are smarter than anything we can think of. I don't think so. Maybe not how it was under Chibnall, at least. I think maybe Russell would run a tighter ship, but
somehow though, I'm not against an open-ended regeneration. I don't mind the idea that she regenerates and then we run to the title sequence, and then we kind of get a soft reboot with the Russell era. Interestingly, fucking talk, Aiden. Interestingly enough, that I believe the guy from Millennium FX that wrote in that Facebook group said that they're doing the Doctor Who reboot. He said. So it's like maybe Russell is trying to reboot it again, and make it, make it fresh and not be like continuing. Like it's not going to be series 14. It's just going to be the continuation, but like it's a jumping on point, like more so than any other series. I don't know, because you always get, Doctor Who's always good in like every 3 or 4 years having a jumping on point with a new Doctor. but there is always a bit of baggage with it because you might have a companion from the previous era that's there. They might reference something from the last episode, or even the concept of regeneration doesn't always get explained in those first episodes. So some people will be like, oh, what's going on? Why is he crazy? Why is Pete sniffing chalk or whatever?
Yeah, right.
Whereas when you have something like Rose, you're just introduced to everything naturally. So maybe they might go that route again. I don't know.
Hey, but maybe so. I could see that happening. Even with Chibnall's season 11 story felt very much like that in a sense, because I remember it had next to no references to previous seasons. They did the Fez. I think that might have been it. Yeah. I don't think they did anything else. I think there's one more thing, which is very little.
Fez and then obviously Dalek and Resolution.
Yeah, and then that's right. There were no monsters from Priest, which by the way I think is really cool.
Yeah, and they called Unit
do it very well, and they call Unit, and then yes, that's when it was all starting to come out, and then they even name dropped like Torchwood and stuff in 1201.
Yeah,
and that was the first time we actually really heard some references to stuff. So, by the way, again, I don't think it was done very well, but I thought it was really ballsy that they did no original.
I kind of like it, to be honest. I
cool.
think it's done all right. Cool. I'll be interested to see on rewatch how I feel about it.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Do you think Doctor Who should be rebooted? Big question. Obviously not restarted, but just rebooted in the same way that Rose was.
Yeah, I think so, because I don't know. I feel like it's in a bad spot at the moment, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in a bad spot right now, but it's definitely.
But fans aren't happy with it.
It's definitely slipping. Like it's undeniable, and it's Easter. Maybe the promotion wasn't that bad. I'm sure there's a million reasons maybe as to why this happened, but the ratings were so low for the Easter special, and for the second last adventure of a Doctor to get 2.7 million views or whatever it was is just not great. And I don't really care too much about ratings and stuff, but it's just one of those things where look, it's not in a terrible spot, but it's definitely not where it once was. I think you'd have to be a little silly not to admit that.
I think it's pretty bad. I think people aren't happy, fans aren't happy. I don't speak to a single fan who's happy. And also I think the worst part of it, there is. I think the worst part of it though is it's missing that casual audience.
Yeah, no, I agree.
By casual audience, I literally mean how my mum would occasionally chuck on a Doctor Who episode when she's cleaning up or something. She would never ever do that now. Yeah, she'd never do that now because she's I don't know, probably heard me say some bad things about it, but also I just don't think it interests the casual audience anymore.
Yeah.
So I think a reboot would be the appropriate thing to do, and maybe cast in I think it should be an unknown actor, but I don't think it will be. But I think for reboot, cast someone new, who's quite known and loved. Yeah, that would help a lot.
I think that's the way to build up hype. Get a big name in there.
Yeah,
and I think that's the right way to go. And then maybe the next one you get someone that's unknown. Just looking here, Con, and look, I know the times are very different, and obviously an episode that's pretty much in the 4th season of a show is going to have more views than an episode in the 13th season of the show. But yeah, you look at Waters of Mars, which is a similar thing, obviously slightly different time of year, but it's the second last special, and it got 10.32 million viewers.
Fuck.
Right? That's 4 times the amount of Legend of the Sea Devils. And yes, the TV market has completely changed in that time, and that is a big part of that figure. But it's also a very big difference in the figure. That can't explain all of that drop off.
It is, considering also the TV is on at Easter normally. The TV's on. Chuck on BBC. Chuck on BBC One. See what lineup they got. It's very big in the UK. Had a big lineup on an Easter or a Christmas or a New Year's Day or New Year's Eve.
I saw that even the top show and stuff, all of the shows this Easter underperformed.
Just didn't do good.
That all of the ratings across the board were really shit on Easter Sunday, I think.
Fair enough.
that's a tough one. That's a tough rating.
But yeah, I don't know, this argument doesn't really help because it's not, obviously that was just English ratings, but I know in Australia it's not really like known to like sit around the TV at Easter and like watch program after program. Maybe that's happening in the UK, but they don't count the BBC iPlayer viewings, do they?
They do later.
They do later. Okay.
Yeah, well, because they obviously can't put the iPlayer viewings on day one because iPlayer is a catch-up service.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm saying like, like that's just how people watch stuff these days. Like that's how we watch every episode. Like we don't watch it live.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So that's just how people.
Well, we would watch it live, though, if we could.
Maybe, but hey, maybe I don't know. Maybe we would. Probably, but my point is also like, if there are people like us watch it now who have grown up with the show, we're busy on Easter Saturday. We're I know it's not on Saturdays anymore, but I wouldn't be tuning into Doctor Who on like a Saturday night at 7:30. I wouldn't. That's not what I'd be doing.
Yeah.
Sunday is different because I'd be home, but at like 7:30, I'd probably be like having dinner or making dinner or like doing something else. Like I don't know if I don't sit down to watch things at like a certain time anymore. I think those days are over, sadly. Like I know like Better Call Saul comes out every Tuesday in Australia about like 3:00, 3:30. And I'll try and plan it. But if I'm at work all day, I don't know what time I'm going to go home. I don't have like a set plan to like, I'll watch it at 6:00. It's like, I don't know if I'm going to get in past 6 or before 6. So whenever I watch Doctor Who, I watch it whenever I get up.
Yeah.
Now it's different with time zones. But by the way, I finally rewatched Legend of the Sea Devils.
What did you think on rewatch? Give me a 15-second review.
Man, it sucked. It was terrible.
You did it in 2 seconds.
Yeah, I thought it was. I actually think it's bad, and you can just tell production wise, it's just like it's a mess. Like it's a complete mess. And I actually watched it when I was like really sent, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll enjoy it more now. I don't know what it was about me being sent, but I was wearing like my critique hat because I noticed everything.
Your art hat.
My art hat, but I actually watched it upstairs on the good TV. I watched it last summer on the bad TV downstairs, so that didn't help either. Seeing all the, everything is like looking a lot more fresh on the TV, and it looks a lot more bad on the episode. But
that's right.
Yeah, shame. Shame.
Yeah, to my point, I think Doctor Who should get a soft reboot. I think it honestly would have been nice to maybe have taken a few years off before you do the reboot, but also it's like I love getting more Doctor Who, so I'd also hate it if they did that. But I guess in terms of doing a solid reboot, having like 3 or 4 years off would have been a good time. But doing that at the 60th isn't the right time. So
that's right. Yeah,
maybe there's an argument there that it should have been rebooted after series 10. I'm kidding. Oh my god, stop yelling at me. Maybe they should have taken 7 years off, and this is the reboot. I feeling a bit different about Chibnall these days because I've always been a bit more of I've always stood up for the guy, and I do stand up for him as a guy. He gets so much hate, like that's just unnecessary. But his era, ever since Legend of the Sea Devils, left me so empty. I was like, wow, yeah, I don't care about this era. Like I get some enjoyment out of watching it, but I'm not invested. Like I'm not gripped to see what's going to happen in the centenary. You know what this is like? And this is a sport analogy for you. And if you're into Australian sport, then fucking here you go, baby. This is going to be a great one for you. Connor knows about this sort of. We're talking about this at the end of the day. Yes, at the end of the last recording we did after the show. AFL, Australian rules football, great sport. It's amazing sport. Connor's not into it. I am. For the last few years, since I got into it, I've supported one of WA's 2 teams, and that's the Fremantle Dockers. The other team is the West Coast Eagles, who usually are like really great, and they've won premierships. This season, they're like bottom of the league. They're horrendous. But Freo, in like their 25, 30 years of being around, they have always been pretty bad. And they've they've come up a bit and they've made their way. They got to the semifinals in 2013, and then they got knocked down. It was all downhill again from there. This season, the boys, they're in, I think they've just gone down to third on the ladder, but they were on second for a long time. They're on fire. They're looking good, and I'm rooting for them, right? I'm feeling good. And that,
yeah.
But I went through years of being like, it's really not that great, that they're not doing great. I'm rooting for them and I want them to do great, but God, they're just doing abysmal. What I want is when RTD comes back to feel like I feel about the Dockers this year, where it's like suddenly doing so well and I'm suddenly like, that's my fucking team. That's my team. Let's go.
I was there from day one.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like shows like Doctor Who, it's like supporting a team where it's like you go through a slump at time where you're like, oh, they're not doing great, but I watch them and I want them to succeed. And every now and then you get a banger like Rosa or a few of the other good ones in Chibnall's era, but I definitely feel hollow.
I think Russell understands the climate of TV at the moment, and I think he understands that Doctor Who cannot last right now in the era of TV where it is so good. There is so much great stuff out there. And can you blame people for not watching a TV show that's like, when you watch something like Legend of the Sea Devils and you watch something like episode 3 of Better Call Saul, like of season 6, it's like, it's just so, and by the way, I'll never expect Doctor Who to be at the same level as that. I hope, but it will never happen, I don't think.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, it needs to understand what kind of level of TV it's in right now.
Yeah,
and I think Russell gets that.
I think it just needs a greater story on character work. Just the fact, the Thasman stuff I enjoy and stuff like that, but there's no hiding the fact that so much of the era was just kind of done on the fly. The fact that Ranzor of Kolos recently came out being a first draft script that got shown, and I'm sure it wasn't exactly a first draft. I'm sure that there was probably a little bit of editing done to it and stuff. But the fact that even happened, and the fact that Chibnall knows that it's not great, it's like, surely you go into writing your first series of Doctor Who and you have a solid idea for your finale there. This felt like he made it and quickly like came up with it and hadn't really thought about how things tie up. I don't know.
It's true.
You know what I was thinking the other day?
BBC even let them do it. But yeah,
this is a good thing that I have a pitch for you to how to fix Ranzor of Kolos. It actually doesn't fix the episode at all. But
Doctor's dead.
It's not quite Doctor's.
Am I in or out?
Yeah, okay, yeah. All right, let's do it. Doctor's Den. Is Connor in or out
with Aiden's Ranzor of Kolos idea?
That's right, baby. We're gonna find out when this tune plays. Okay. There we go. Doctor's Den, baby.
Okay.
There we go. I'm going to stop that. That was annoying. Yeah, so my pitch. So the end of... It's not Can You Hear Me? It's It Takes You Away. Second last one of Series 11, I quite like. At the end of that resolves the Ryan and Graham thing. He calls him Grandad. It's a beautiful moment. I really like it. But... you then have in the finale this big thing of where Graham's suddenly on a revenge plot, which I didn't necessarily buy too much from memory, but I'll see how it lives up on rewatch. But he's on this revenge plot to kill Tim Shaw. Wouldn't it have been great if Ryan hadn't called him Granddad yet, but then Graham's there about to shoot Tim Shaw or something, and then Ryan's like, Granddad, don't. And then he's like, what did you just call me? And there's this whole thing of like, he's an idol to Ryan now. He can't put this in front of Ryan. Like, that's not the example he wants to set for Ryan.
Right. Okay.
Are you in or are you out?
It. I'm in. They have a kind of similar scene where Ryan Vine says, I love you. But I don't buy that either. But I like it.
Never mind. I guess I
like it.
Yeah, okay.
No, it's good. It's good. I like it. I think that, hey man, I'll take any emotion in Chibnall's era.
That's the thing that is missing.
That.
That's what I mean by the character stuff. It just doesn't feel like there's any heavy emotion in there.
Hey, I think you're right. It would have been a lot better in the final. I do believe that. I remember thinking that, and I can't really get around the idea that we get. Yeah, I can't. Can I actually? I actually can get around the idea that it was a first draft almost, but that just upsets me.
Yeah,
and the fact that BBC even let them do it blows my mind.
Yeah.
Blows
Look, let's
it.
not
It
let's
blows
not
my mind.
sit on. Let's not. We've shat on Chibnall Zero enough this episode. Let's move along. We hate to be overly negative, and we just were there for a little bit. Let's move on to Australia's favorite segment, baby. It's time for Goof of the Week. Goof of the Week is the segment where we talk about any production errors, any silly little things that we spotted throughout the episode that were not intentional. I have one. Connor, do you have one this week?
I do, yeah.
Surely it's the same one because it's so obvious.
Okay. Do you want me to say it?
Yeah, you say yours.
All right. At the beginning of the episode,
not mine.
Clara's like, when they're fighting, Robin Hood and the Doctor, they're like fighting. Clara's like, she's like skipping stones. She's got her hands out like this.
Yeah.
And it cuts to her wide, and she's just got her hands like this, watching the Doctor fight. So she just goes from like hopping stones like this to her hands like that. Literally in a cut. That's what I noticed. What do you notice?
Mine is, you're gonna kick yourself for not noticing it, because I literally watched it and was like, what? So Pete's wearing his purple suit the whole episode, right? And at the very end, his purple shirt. At the very end, he's walking around the TARDIS. He's in his purple shirt. He talks with Clara, and then like the last shot in the TARDIS is a close-up hand on the leather, on pulling down the lever in the TARDIS, and you can see he's got his white suit on underneath it and pulls it down. The sleeve is white under his jacket. It's so funny. It's obviously like they got like a hand double to do it.
Like a pickup almost, like, we should just show him doing this. Okay.
And they obviously didn't get the right suit for it. Or maybe they pulled it from a different episode is another option. Yeah, well, maybe.
A lot of hands in film and TV and like legs and stuff that you actually have to show them a lot of time isn't said actor.
Yeah, so, I know. But surely.
Sorry to blow your idea of fun there, Aiden, but
so obvious though. Like,
oh my God.
As if you just not get the right shirt, or you'd pull it from a different episode or something and you think that no one's going to notice. Like, it's so obvious, man.
That's so funny. I love stuff like that. Classic Doctor Who.
All right, so we move on to our final segment for today, Connor.
Go on.
It's time for Behind the Scenes. Behind the scenes of the segment where we pulled back the curtain, is what I was trying to say. God, my mouth and my tongue's all over the place today. We pull back the curtain on the episode and we talk about the behind the scenes facts, the stuff you didn't know, little bits of trivia, some cool, interesting stuff, ready for some conversations here today. So, the big one that we have alluded to already is a scene in which the Sheriff of Nottingham was beheaded, revealed him to be a robot, was edited out of this episode's broadcast as it was deemed inappropriate in light of recent events in the news, namely the beheading of 2 American journalists by the terrorist group ISIS. I stand by that was a good decision. Obviously, Doctor Who's a show to escape from, and if you were someone that was hurt by that or was very confronting for you, then I feel like seeing a beheading scene, like I think it was like a day or two after it happened from memory. So I remember being all over the news. It was
very, very close. Very close.
Yeah. So kudos to them for just being like, yep, we'll cut it. Even though, as you know, we were talking about from being able to find it online now, it was quite a good scene in the episode, I think.
He's like, the ship actually did crash on me. By the way, I'm a robot too.
Yeah. It's like, cool seeing it with like no VFX done, and you can see like, even though it's in black and white, you can see Ben Miller's like he's got like a green thing over his face where they're gonna green screen it away,
neck and stuff.
And then when they put the head of him back onto the other version of him, so his body has no head on for a little bit before he pulls his head on. You can see the outline of where someone's wearing like a green head. That's
green head,
body. Yeah, it's so funny.
So great. I love it.
another thing is, this is what I was saying earlier, where perhaps the Doctor's, I can't remember exactly what I said, something about Robin Hood. I don't know. In the episode, we cycle through a few different Robin Hoods on a screen at one point. One of those actors is Patrick Troughton, playing Robin Hood in the first ever TV appearance of Robin Hood.
Wow, look at that. That's awesome.
Fact for you, a bit of trivia. Peter Capaldi turned 56 while making the episode and was given a Dalek cake as part of it.
Go Pete.
And then the other bit of info about the episode is that, as we know, the first 5 scripts of the series were leaked, so the script was leaked.
Yeah.
And as we continue to find out, the full episode, the rough cut, was also leaked in black and white with unfinished VFX, and that is how we have access to the beheading scene. You can't see the beheading scene in its proper final phase of color. It's just in this black and white version. So,
I was going to say that. Yeah, I was like, why would they have released it? That makes more sense now. I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
That was behind the scenes this week, baby. That was it.
Great. That was a good one.
Yeah,
sometimes they suck. That was a good one.
I'm sorry.
Nah, it's not your fault. Maybe they're just not good behind the scenes.
All right. Robot of Sherwood, episode 107 of our podcast. Yep. What is your final rating out of 10, Connor?
I give it a 5 out of 10.
Oh, interesting.
Colourful, some nice directing. Opening is great. The banter is good in places. I really like what's his name plays Robin Hood. And in places it is just fun. And I like the archery scene, even though it is silly. I do like it.
When I wrote my score earlier today, I gave it a 5.5. But when I was, I don't know, just like a couple of hours ago, I upped it to 6. Just because I went and had a look at other episode ratings, because I've been getting a bit carried away with giving episode ratings too high and too low recently. So I just thought I'd go and compare it to quite a few other episodes and try and bounce it off around there. And look, like I've given episodes like, where am I looking? Things like the Lazarus Experiment, I gave a 6.5, which is probably a little bit better than this, so that makes sense for it to be a 6. And then Sontaran Stratagem, Poison Sky, I gave a 6. I think this is around the same level as that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good little gauge to go off of. It's fun, it's colorful, it's pretty. It just doesn't quite.
It'll do. It'll do.
It's like you can watch it, but there's nothing to chew on.
Exactly. Yeah. It's enjoyable in the series, I think.
It's like having candy floss.
Candy floss.
You like have it and you're like pinging whilst you have it. You're like, whoa, humor, funny. But then you go to chew it and you're like,
it's gone.
There's nothing there. What the fuck? How weird is that about?
That is weird. I've had that quite a few times. Where I'm just like, that is weird. It's like it's there and it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Candy floss.
Bizarre. A great song by our gal Vinny.
Yeah. Vinny the musician.
That's right.
Yeah, she needs to drop an LP soon.
Yeah, she needs to give us a full studio album that we have royalties for. We can play a Vinny song at the end of every episode. That's what we should do.
That'd be sick.
Okay.
Royalty free, exactly. Yeah.
That's us this week, guys, for Robot of Sherwood. Next week we will be cracking on with Listen. Voice break. Maybe we will be in person. Maybe we won't. We'll see how COVID evolves.
Yeah,
and also Connor's going away, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'll be back, but hopefully we're in person.
Hopefully.
I didn't say it like that.
Yeah, you did. Your voice broke out. Hopefully.
Did it? I don't think it did.
It sounded like it did a bit.
I will examine on rewatch if my voice broke or not.
Okay, dear.
All right.
Would you like to sing us out in song, Mr. Man?
Mr. Man, okay.
Mr. Man.
It's
Aiden's and Connor's podcast. We're doing Doctor Who reviews. Doing Doctor Who reviews. Sometimes it feels like we have to do this song at the end, and we both hate doing it so much now that it's like they've got a
meme, isn't
someone's back there winding us up, and we've got to be like,
it's a good bit. I was just trying because I'm outside. I was trying to see if I don't think anyone's upstairs. My girlfriend's on the couch, didn't look over. I was just gonna like, you're a fucking idiot. Like me clapping in on my balcony, just singing the 50% Dot 2 outro song.
That's great.
I love it.
That's good.
Cheers.
Love it.